just be a blessing to someone else. You can't go wrong with that.
You're right.
That's my word.
No, you're right. You're right. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Wealth in Christ podcast show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. On our podcast today, we have Ms.Myrrie Hayes. Ms.Myrrie Hayes is the founder and co-owner of Best Care, a behavioral residential organization. And in this podcast, we're going to discuss how Ms. Myrrie had become a millionaire through her group home business. So thank you for being here, Ms. Myrrie.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I got up, focused, doing some work, and I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good. So what inspired you to start Best Care?
Well, I would say the inspiration was my sister, my oldest sister. I am the youngest of 14. So
14. Okay.
yeah, so there was a really big gap in between me and my oldest sister. And she always suffered from bipolar, schizophrenic, since I could remember. And so basically I was taking care of, I had an assisted living home. So I was taking care of clients that were, seniors or people that needed like rehabilitation, things like that. And so in my sister's, I guess, manic episode of her schizophrenia, she was in Kansas City. She jumped on a plane. Well, first she called me and said, I'm coming to Arizona and you're going to take care of me. And I'm like, what? And then she got on a plane with her Bible and her purse. That was it. No medication, no clothes, nothing. And she showed up here in Arizona. So I went to the airport to pick her up and I was like, where's your stuff? She was like, this is all I need, her purse and her Bible. And so I knew she was on medication. So I'm like, okay, Hattie, we took her to the VA, got her some medication, things like that. And then I took her to my assisted living home because I had an open room. And I was just like, what's going on? Well, come to find out she had bladder cancer. And so she stayed in my assisted living home for 3 months and then she passed away. And so she passed away. And then I had another lady pass away right after, like a few days after. And then my first client that I had the whole 2.5 years, very first client, she passed away. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore because I'm very sensitive. And with people coming in and mourning and all of that, it was just too much. And so I was just trying to figure out what could I do because I'm a natural caretaker. What can I do to, take care of people, but not in the assisted living, type of area. And I was like, one of my sister that's right over me, she was like, well, why don't we check into behavioral health? Because we took care of Hattie. So why don't we check on that? And we did our research and lo and behold, here comes Best Care Behavioral Homes. So that's basically why I started Best Care Behavioral Homes.
Wow. Thank God for the grace and inspiration that you had to get through that mourning process. So that leads me to my next question. What are some fundamental things you need to have in place to have a successful group home?
Oh, fundamental things. You have to, first and foremost, you have to have some type of policies and procedures set up. You have to have guidelines because it is imperative that you stick to regulations. There are a lot of regulations and it depends on the state, city, county, things like that. But really, that is the most important thing. If you stick to your policies and your guidelines and all the regulations, um, that's gonna be your foundation. That's like a must. You can't get around that, you know. And then you want to have good employees, a good structure of people set up as far as your BHP, which is like your behavioral health professional, which is going to be like a licensed social worker, stuff like that. So you have to have the right people in place, and those people have to be flexible, because in this type of business, dealing with people with mental health, you have to have a lot of flexibility. It's not going to be the same every day. it's going to be, sporadic. It's going to be, all kind of things happening. And you're going to have people on your team that can handle those situations. So really, and, I would say the third most important thing is you have to have the funds because myself, I don't do private pay. So I have to wait for reimbursement in order to, run my business. So you are going to have some type of, you have to have some type of funding. I recommend that now. I was a cash person when I started this business. I don't recommend that so much now for people. Get you some funding, get you, some backers. With us, we were all cash, savings, money we work for, and things like that. And it makes for a rough beginning. So I would say have your policies set, some SOPs. If you don't know what that is, those are standard operating procedures. You need to have those set, and then have you a good team and have some money. Those are the three most important things. Everything else you can kind of, finagle through. But no, yeah, those three you gotta have.
Oh no, that's definitely well said, and that just lead me to ask, what are some of the challenges people can expect to come with owning a group home?
I would say challenges as far as if you're a licensed group home, and really I deal with unlicensed and licensed. When I say unlicensed, I'm saying like people that want to set up homes and have people come in and pay them, out of pocket. So I have helped people do that. I don't do any of that. I strictly get money from the state and things like that. So with that, challenges is how would I put this? You got to be on point. The state can come in at any time and shut you down. So you have to stick to the regulations. They can come in on one incident or one complaint, or or you might do something that you don't think is a big thing, as far as I'll give you an example. A lot of people don't know, in behavioral health homes in Arizona, you cannot have poles in your closet. The poles that people hang their clothes on?
Mm-hmm.
That is against regulations. You cannot have a pole to where if you put something on that pole and it stays up, you are out of regulation.
Wow.
So we just take all the poles out. But think about this. Think about somebody saying that's not a big deal. They leave the pole in there, and then you walk in one morning and somebody hung themselves on the clothing pole in the closet. Nobody thinks about stuff like that, but that's a regulation. And it's kind of a big thing, because somebody could hang themselves in a closet.
Yeah.
So things like that, that's like the biggest challenge, is keeping up on those regulations, because they can change. And then we get surveyed like once a year, but the state can come out at any time. If they get a complaint on you, they can come out every day in a month if they, if they want to. So just think, if regulations change, if they come in May and the regulation changed May 30th, and then they come in June and you're not up to date, you can get dinged on that, even though you didn't know, but it's your job to keep on up on regulations. So that's kind of like our biggest challenge, is to always have someone working to stay up to date, staying in contact with the state, calling the surveyor of the day, getting clarity on regulations, because it's a big thing. I mean, you could have your whole business shut down off something.
Wow. Wow. So that leading, so I'm sure, do you have somebody on your team that's focused on just stay on top of these policies?
Yes, we actually have two right now. I mean, they have other responsibilities, but that's like a big one. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And you mentioned funding, that, that one thing you wish you still was like you use funding, like you not use all your personal savings and things of that sort. So what's some type of funding that people can get to start a group home?
You can always try to go with the bank. Like I said, my walk wasn't like that. We used our own money. So when I'm just now learning about business funding and I'm in my 5th year, because we never did it. We never really had to, once the pandemic hit, our CPA and people like that were like, hey, apply for the EIDL, the SBA loan, and apply for PPP and stuff like that, even though they only gave us small amounts. So that was kind of like our first touch of funding, to come in. So when it comes to that, I would say check with your local credit union first, because I'm big on credit unions, and then check with your local bank if you have some type of relationship with them. But I hear now there's like hard funders, grants. I'm going to be honest with people. What I'm hearing is, unless it's like a special specific grant, grants take a long time. And it's kind of like, you got to have a great grant writer, things like that. I don't have a lot of experience, like I said, in funding. I'm just getting into it. We just got like our first business credit card. I'm very new because I was using cash. I was using credit. We were generating enough cash, to basically, we were making like $35,000 off of each house. So we were just like, oh, we got the money paid for. So we were using debit cards. People look at me now like, what? Are you crazy? Yeah, that's what we knew. So, but now it's like, it's good to use other people's money. OPM, that's the big thing now. So.
Wow. That's actually good though, because now that you guys do have credit, you guys can grow the business at a much faster pace compared to just having cash. So that leads me to my next question. What is the cost of having a group home? Like the startup cost, like what is the ideal someone needs to save, being the fact that funding can be difficult?
I would say, at least, honestly, to have a group home, it depends on what you have access to. Like, if you are someone that have no experience, you have to pay for all your employees. You don't have, I'm saying, like, you haven't built relationships, or you don't have family that are social workers or nurse practitioners or things like that. I would say 100,000, really, just to be comfortable. Minimum 100,000, because you have to have that house. You have to get that house up and running I mean, you have to have that house like it's running before the state even comes out. So you have to have a house fully furnished, utilities on, cable on, TV in there, phone line on, everything in there, to where when they come to survey you, everything is there, like you already have a client.
Wow.
So in order to do that, who knows when the state's gonna come out? I mean, we've had to wait on the state as long as 9 months to come out to a house. We still had to pay that mortgage, pay those utilities. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was 9 months with no client in the house. And
Wow.
but we still had to pay those bills. We still had to pay the lawn guy to come out. We still had to pay him to trim the trees. We still had to do all of that. And so that's one thing that people have to think about when you do a group home. Like us personally, when we did our group home, we started our business in March of 2017. We did not get our first client until the end of January 2018. Our first. So by that time, we were, if I remember right, we were into it about 47 grand, where we had renovated the house, paid the down payment, and we rented our first house. You can rent homes. So we rented our first house, and the woman wanted $10,000 down and $2,500 a month.
Wow.
Because our credit was bad, we had cash. So it was like, okay, let's pay it. I mean, am I glad am I upset that we had to pay that much? Now, no, because I have a successful business. I made the sacrifice I needed to, So when I tell people my advice, 100 grand, or at least access to 100 grand, even if that's through funding or whatever, you're going to need money to carry that house until you get reimbursement. And reimbursement initially, it may take you 90 days to get reimbursed. So yeah, so you need some money.
Wow, that is well said. And that leads me to ask, I'm sure through this time and this different challenge, waiting a whole year before you can even actually make money in a business, that your faith was challenged. And, so how were you able to still, focus and still remain faithful through this process?
I just felt like it was God's calling on my life. It's like every time we came up to something, it's like God will open the door and we'll be like, oh my God, and it was just things happening because we were out networking. We were driving up to the Navajo Nation. We were driving to the edge of Arizona. We were all over the place just networking with people, and we were buying people lunch. We were doing all types of things to invest in ourselves because we knew at some point it was going to happen. Because it's like once we started doing the research, we made a connection within the community, and she was a bigwig in the community of behavioral health in Arizona. And she told us, anything y'all need that I can do legally, I will help y'all. And she told us that, and it was like, what? And this woman didn't know us. So we were just like, that's God ordained, Yeah. And then we were in situations where we would meet with CEOs of major hospitals in Arizona. And it's like, how did little sharecropper daughters meet with CEOs that have access to billions of dollars? And they have us seated at the table with their leadership team, having meetings. And we could barely, I could barely talk proper English. And I'm sitting in there with 12 people conversating about a group home I don't even have open. That's the thing. We didn't even have a group home. And we were negotiating our contract and didn't even know it. it was it was like God was putting us in these situations and we were like, what? And then we would come out, we would be shouting and crying and like, oh my God, this is crazy. It was just so much stuff happening that it was like, we know we're gonna do amazing things. It may not be happening right now, and then we would come to that month. It's like, okay, how much do we got to pay out this month? And we would be scraping our money together. Okay, all right, this will cover the bills. This will cover this. And it was just happening every single month. It's like God was making a way with all the different traveling and networking events that we were going to. God was just making a way.
Oh, that makes sense. Now I understand much better why you said in order to start this process, 100K is definitely a safe net because in terms of networking, buying lunch, and getting to these different rooms, it definitely costs money. It definitely all makes sense, and that just leads me to I just have two questions from what you just said. The first question would be, how important is mindset? Because I see throughout this whole process so far in the interview, from you losing your sister to your first client, and even going through a whole year without making any kind of money, you were still persistent. You were still seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which is amazing. So how were you able to continue to see that?
We had to work on ourselves. We had to work on our minds, changing our mindset, because like I said, I tell people, God, we are sharecroppers' daughters. What if I stay stuck in that mindset that we don't deserve this, or we don't, we're not good enough, or, it's like, you pray and you fast and you ask God for that holy boldness, and that's a part of changing your mindset, because you got to be willing to accept that, because like I said, God was putting us in situations like, literally, I was scared when you walk into a boardroom and it's 12 or 13 people and nobody in that room looks like you except for my sister sitting next to me. Everybody looks different, and it's like, what are you doing? But God will give us that boldness. And sometimes me and my sisters would hold hands, underneath the table because we were scared. But it's like God was working on us and changing our mindset to know, you are mine. You are the child of the King. You ain't nobody more powerful than y'all. All you got to do is go in there with the intention and the focus, and the strategy that I gave you guys, and everything's going to work out. So that people have to change your mindset to be willing to accept that, and to be able to step up and say, we can do this, and keep pushing and not give up. Because it was times it was like, is this worth it? And then, kid you not, stuff would happen, and it's like, or somebody would call and say something, man, I just got a like one person called and said, I just got a compliment, a call about you guys. Somebody said that they met these two sisters and they were just like so impressed with y'all, and y'all just blew their mind. So I just wanted to call and tell y'all, and we blew somebody's mind, but God was shocking us the whole time.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's definitely wonderful. And I want to ask, about the networking. You mentioned how you had to buy lunch and get into these different rooms. So how would you suggest someone who's interested in owning a mobile home to get to these tables, to go to these conferences? What would your word of advice for them?
I would say consistently do something, consistently show up so people can know who you are. Keep talking about what you're going to do. Keep talking. First of all, figure out what you want to do, what type of group home you want. but then keep talking about it to everybody you meet, just because you never know who may have access to who, you know? So look, I always like to give examples. I'm like Jesus. I like to give parables, but we went and built a relationship. We opened our home in a small rural community, and we went in there and ended up opening a bank account. The woman, the teller, was so impressed with us, the personal banker. She was like, I want you guys to meet the bank manager. So she brought him out. We met him, talked to him. He calls us a couple of days later and was like, wow, I was so impressed, with your vision and what you ladies want to do. I just want to let you know that my best friend is such and such, who happened to be over the crisis center over the whole northern Arizona, and access, like I said, to billions of dollars. I want to invite you guys to lunch. I'm going to try to coordinate a lunch between you and him so you guys can build a relationship. Really? The bank manager knew the crisis center. Just to let people know, the crisis center is where, when you have a behavioral group home, that's where you get clients from. Sometimes, the majority of the time, either the behavioral hospital or the crisis center. So we end up meeting the guy who's over the crisis center, the whole crisis up in northern Arizona.
Wow.
Off of impressing a bank manager. Now, what if we would have never talked to him? What if we never would have showed, what if we would have been at the bank like, oh God, y'all taking too long. Oh, this is just too much. And acting rude to the personal banker. We never would have met the bank manager. We never would have met the crisis.
Yeah.
The guy who was the CEO over the crisis center. We never would. So we have a saying, BOYBB, be on your best behavior. Always be on your best behavior, because you never know who you're gonna meet and who that person knows. Business is all about relationships.
Yes, it is. No, yes, yeah, you're 100%. You're 100% right on that.
Yeah, so I would say build relationships. That's like one of the main things that someone needs to do. You have to get out and network. You have to build relationships, and you have to set yourself apart. People always knew. Me and my sister always walked in the room smiling, greeting people. We were always courteous. We'd be like, hey, would you like some water? I'm going to grab me some water. And people like, huh? You going to serve me water? We were always having a servant attitude. And it just set us apart. So a lot of people around in Arizona know us because we were out networking.
Wow, that is definitely amazing. And I want you to quickly, if you don't mind, explain the different types of group homes that people can get into besides behavior group home.
Ooh, a group home could mean so many things. You could be like, I had an assisted living. That's a group home. It's a group of elderly people that live together. Then with behavioral health, there could be personal care. There could be DDD, which is Department of Developmentally Disabled. Sorry, that's that country twang I have.
Not a problem.
And then, gosh, there's a lot. You could do, some people take niche, little niches, like they may have a group home for pregnant women. May have a group home for people dealing with head trauma, like having like a brain trauma. You may have, there's a lot. There's a lot of different group homes. So make sure you do your research. And also too, I'll give you guys a gem. Always check with your community to see what the need is, because you don't want to open a group home. Say if you hear that group homes that offer equine therapy, like horse therapy, is a big thing in your area. So you run out and you open one, and then you come to find out it's oversaturated and you never get a resident because there's too many. Well, you need to find out what the need is and then base your decision on what the need is. Because if they don't need the home, you're going to have a group home and you're not going to have any clients.
Wow. Wow. That is definitely well said. And I want to ask real quick, because oftentimes people confuse foster care and group homes.
Yeah.
So I want you, if you can quickly like elaborate what's the difference and between those two.
I'm really, look, I don't know. I know foster care is mostly like kids that you, well, I would say this. One of the women that opened the group home, well, she's one of our clients that we helped her open a group home. She used to do foster care. Foster care is when you, I guess, take on responsibility. It could be a kid that's, that something's going on in their family. And the reimbursement is nothing compared to what you get for my type of group home. Yeah. If I remember, she was getting probably about $700 a month. I get that in 2 days.
Wow.
Two and a half, 3 days. So it's a big difference. And I never knew that foster care, what the payment was until she told me.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not that much. I mean, and they need foster care parents, so I'm not knocking anybody. It's just, if you want to do a business, I don't really consider foster care as a business. Now I know they do have foster care homes where there is a group of kids, but honestly, I don't even know how that works. I can research it if somebody wants me to, but I don't know right off how that works.
That definitely makes sense. That leads me to, to ask about you're making money in this business, the group home. You mentioned that earlier that you can do with cash, where you're having people paying you versus, waiting for the state to pay you. So could you go more into detail about those two different ways?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to senior clients, like assisted living, I saw more cash than I would say a state contract, but like that would be to where the client would pay you whatever your rate was. At the time, my rate was $5,000 a bed for a private room, and then $3,000 for semi-private. I know it's more now, but at the time, that's what I was charging. And then people would pay me cash at the beginning of the month, and I would care for them. When as far as the state pay, you have to get a contract with the state to be able to provide a service, and then the state reimburses you. You bill for the money, so you have to have a biller or someone that knows how to bill. You bill the state, and then you get reimbursement, direct deposits for that money.
That makes sense.
With the state, it's a daily rate. So they pay you, in Arizona, I would say it's a daily rate. In some states, they have some type of group homes where they pay you in like a monthly stipend. So, but I know Arizona right now, our contract is around $235 a day per person.
And do you make this price, or the state gives you this price?
Now, it's kind of like the state has a price.
Yeah.
Now, if you get private, because the state is like Access, in Arizona. But then there are other insurances like Mercy Care, Care First, different insurances. They have a price. You can actually, people don't know this is a gem. You can negotiate what your rate is with them if they want to. So
Wow.
they might tell you, nope, this is it. You just getting the access rate, blah, blah, blah. Or if you have a specific type of group home that is a need, that's why I said people need to know that. Find out what the need is. If you're one of those homes and nobody else is doing this type of home and that is their need, then you can go back and say, I don't want that rate. I want this rate. And then you go back and forth with them, and you can negotiate. I'm not gonna say it works every time, but it's worked for me.
That's well said. No, that's well
you
said.
But yeah, people have to know like what to say and things like that, because we actually had a client where we tried to coach her on what to say, and she said what she wanted to say.
Mm.
And the woman over the contracts was like, well, no, we don't need you. Because she didn't say what we told her to say. So
That's true.
yep.
So that leads me, I want to ask, being a fact that with the state, you do have to wait for them to reimburse you. How do you go about keeping yourself still up to scale, doing your day-to-day activity while you're waiting 90 days or however you have to wait so it doesn't affect your day-to-day?
Well, like with us, because we've been doing it a while, we've already built up, reserves. And that's why I was saying with someone else, you want to have access to funds, or you want to have funds, because you still have to feed those people that are in your house. You still have to take them out on activities, so you want to have some type of budget, and you want to have access to some type of funds to carry you. Because like I said, it could be 2 weeks before they reimburse you. It could be 2 months. It could be 6 months.
Wow.
If your biller doesn't know what they're doing, and your claims keep getting denied because they're one day off or one code off or something like that, you're going to have to wait until they pay you. It could be a year, because we had a what do you call it? A home health, where we used to go out and take care of people in their homes, in their own homes. And it was claims with one insurance company. It took us over a year to get reimbursement for those claims. So yeah, you just got to be prepared.
Wow. 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 I think one thing I can take from this, this conversation, is the point of having a great team, whether it's a biller, whether it's a CPA. So what are some key hires you would say is important for people to get from the jump and not try to be too cheap about it? Like, you have to get it. Like,
I would say get you a bookkeeper. You don't have to have a CPA. Just get you a bookkeeper, because if you're dealing with the day-to-day, you don't want your money to get messed up, and you don't want to not be keeping track of things correctly. So at least get you a bookkeeper, somebody to keep your books, if you're the one running the house. If you're not the one running the house, maybe you can do that yourselves. But you're either gonna have to get a house manager or a bookkeeper. It just depends on what you're doing. That house manager, like we have house managers in each of our houses, and they know that they are responsible. Call us if you need backup. Call us if you need moral support, but they are responsible. So when we sign a contract with them, they know that.
well,
So I would say that would be really, anything else you can kind of do yourself at first, if you know how to bill. If you don't know how to bill, get you a biller, because that money coming in is going to be important. My thing is, I taught myself to bill. I'm not, I didn't go to school for billing or anything like that. I taught myself to bill, and I was the biller for the first 3 years
Wow.
almost 3 years. Yeah, of our business, because billers charge you anywhere from like 5 to 7% of your billing. Or if you're bringing in first first year 2.3 million, do you really want to pay somebody seven for me it was only like 2 or 3 hours a week. I'm
Yeah.
not paying. So me and my sister was like, no. I taught myself to bill, sitting up till 3, 4 in the morning, reading, taught myself to bill. And then I just did it until we were able, well, I'm not going to say able because we were able. We were just trying to keep all the money. No, no, until we got to the point where now we have a biller on staff. So we didn't even go with a billing company. So we pay a woman a salary, and she was a biller at one of the hospitals here. Now she's our biller.
No, that's well said. So, that's also so that leads me to what is a typical day like for you? Now you have a team. So what is a typical day like for you managing the business?
For me, I kind of do well. Right now, I'm working on projects. I don't really actively work in my business. I mostly do Mondays. Mondays is our meeting day. So we meet with every single house manager through Zoom. We meet our leadership team, and then also the executive team meets. So my whole Monday is meetings. So that would be like a typical regular day. As far as the rest of the week, like today I woke up focused because I have projects. Me and my VA are working on digital products. So that's kind of my focus right now, is to be working on that. I had a couple of fires to put out because sometimes, being in behavioral health, there's things that you have to handle that your house managers or your leadership team cannot. And it's only because me and my sister built relationships with people. So sometimes this sensitive.
Yeah.
So you want to handle it. But most days, I get up, I do like a devotion. I pray, and then I pretty much do what I want to do. I take my kids to school sometimes. I look, I'm a woman of leisure now. I read a lot. Like, I'm a crazy reader. I'm reading like 6 books right now at the same time. So I read a lot. I listen to podcasts. I'm real big on Mike Todd right now, Pastor Mike Todd. So I'm real big on him, Pastor Darius. So I listen to messages. My kids are like, you're always listening to stuff. I said, yeah, but I'm listening to things that are putting good things into my ears. I'm not
Yeah.
listening to that mess y'all listening to. And then sometimes I just meditate. I have like a hammock in the backyard. I go back there, I lay in the hammock when it's nice out, and I just sit there and think, and then I come back in and I write it down.
Wow.
Whatever God's pouring into me, I write it down.
That's well said. That's definitely well said. I want you to quickly talk about your coaching program for those who want to get into a group of home and what your coaching program offers.
Okay. Well, we have a few programs, I would say. I'll roll through them real quick. We have from high end all the way down to ebooks. Our high end, we have like a group home in a box, I'll say, like turnkey group home. We basically walk you through, we basically do it all for you. That's our high end package. That one is 50 grand. Then we have a hold your hand package where we will basically walk you through and talk you through. This is the application you need to do. This is who you need to talk to. This is what you need to say. That one is 25 grand. Then we have our mentorship program. That is like a Zoom call every other week where we meet with our mentees. We train on a subject that may be as far as business, or it may be pertaining to group homes. A lot of time we get suggestions, from our mentees on what they want to learn about. We do a training for about an hour, and then we have about an hour of Q&A. And then our mentees also have access to us. They can email us, and then say if they get stuck or they are at the state building and they need to know what to do, they can call us. And so that program runs every 90 days. We have people that graduate, but then we also have people that continue because they want us to help walk them through their group home journey. So we have all of that. We have ebooks on our website, which is bestcarehomes.com, that you can go on and purchase. We have all kind of products, disaster books, anything basically you need to start a group home or run a group home. And then we also have some products. Oh, we have a children's book. I forgot about that. We have a children's book, A to Z's of mental illness. It's on Amazon. Okay. So we have and we're coming up with a lot of more stuff. Oh, I have a meeting today with a couple of people where we're trying to come up with more stuff.
That's well said. That's wonderful. So that, that leaves my last question. Where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years?
In Belize, up on a mountain. No. In 5 to 10 years, I will basically be a speaker, traveling around doing events for women. I'm real big on single moms, things like that, empowering them, teaching them that they don't have to, be less than. They are enough. So I will be doing things like that. I probably won't be working in best care behavioral homes at all on a daily basis. And I will be marketing all my digital products and just traveling. That's about it. In 5 years, that's what I will be doing. I'm speaking that.
Yes. That's definitely wonderful. And I pray that, you're definitely able to accomplish that. If you could leave any word of wisdom for those who are listening, what would your word of wisdom be?
What I always say at the end of my conversations: just be a blessing to someone else. You can't go wrong with that.
You're right.
That's my word.
No, you're right. And
I would say,
can people stay in touch with you and continue to follow you on this journey?
Well, you can follow me at Ms.Myrrie Hayes on Instagram. I am also on Facebook as Myrrie Hayes. I am on YouTube. You can follow my little videos and my journey on YouTube under Myrrie Hayes. And just keep a lookout, because I'm going to do amazing things.
Yes. Thank you again, Ms.Myrrie Hayes, for your time. And for those who are listening, I hope you guys don't see this as another podcast. You guys actually take action, step out in faith and do what you have to do. For those who may not know, I have a free study guide. I can show you how you can get started in the stock market completely for free. And you can get it on my website, wealthinchristbrand.com. And I recently just launched a Facebook group. If you're looking for a community of Christians who are working on reaching financial freedom without compromising their faith, look no further and join the Pray and Invest group on Facebook. And stay tuned for next week's episode. Cool. Thank you again, Ms.Myrrie Hayes.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Thank you.